Okay, welcome back to another video this week. What I want to talk to you about today is a continuation on from what I would call the L to L or look cool drill. Okay, so this motion that I've done a bit of info on this on social media and also on the channel as well. And one of the things that we're going to do, so you basically want to try and start off by swinging the club head like this and just allowing the club head to swing freely, and you're going to feel the sensation of how the momentum swings the club around you during the swing. And it comes across, and some people have said it on comments before, and I get it, I understand it. It's this, oh, it's very armsy, you know, you're gonna just flick at the ball when you do this, and so on and so forth. It's not the whole thing that I want you to do. So this is just really part one of what we want you to try and practice. All right, we do have to get the body involved. All right, and it's really important you understand that. But the body's role is totally different to what people think. People express this as being the power drive. So you've got to really turn the body in order to get to get more distance and more power and speed. Yes, to a certain degree, but what your body's trying to do is continuously offset the momentum of the club. So the weight of the club swings out. My job is to offset that as I swing through. So what I mean by that is as the club head's coming down and through this way and is swinging away from me, the forces are going to be going that way. So momentum is a straight line force. If I was to swing it and just let go of the club, it will fly towards the camera there. But what my body's got to do is to try and create a circle around me. It's then going to twist and push that away. So the role of the body is to push and push away from that momentum to help direct and control the momentum so it swings around me. My body is continuously pulling away from the momentum of the club as it swings around my body. All right. So it's very important that you practice that as well. So one of the drills that I love to do, I've just been doing it then just to sort of loosen up, is really just get used to just swinging the club head one-handed. All right, and I warm up pretty much every time when I do this, just swinging back and forth. And the trick with this one is to learn to do it without even moving your shoulders or your body at all. Okay. And you're just going to get used to the momentum of the club and how it wants to pivot and swing around you. And you're also going to get used to how the right wrist works as well when you do this. My wrist works back on itself and through. It's a throw release upwards as opposed to I'm not rolling it and turning it as I swing back and through. Okay, it's going to go back and through like so. All right. The next thing I want to do though is I then want to introduce pivot, okay, of the hip. All right, and the left hip. And what I'm going to do here is, as I'm swinging the club head down with my right arm, I'm just going to get used to my left leg pushing my left hip back as the club head swings down and through. It's very important that I time these two up together. Okay, and what this does is when I was doing the pivot drill with just the one hand, you notice that the club head was pivoting here just outside my right thigh. Okay, and this is where people get a bit concerned because they think, oh, I'm flicking at it, or I'm going to early release it or cast the club. But basically what happens is as soon as I add the body in and I start pushing back, that pivot point from being here then moves over to here somewhere. Okay, so that's going to create the pivot action to happen around here somewhere as opposed to back here. The feeling is for some people though, they need to do it earlier, because what we see a lot of golfers do is they have a tendency to drag the handle through. So we you know, one of the biggest things we hear is that you've got to hold the angles in the downswing, and you've got to hold it all the way through and get forward shaft lean. All that ends up doing though is you end up leaving the club face wide open and hitting it off to the right hand side. So then just as you get to there, you suddenly panic and you have to flick through. Okay, I'm not allowing momentum to happen. All right, so the actual motion or the pivot actually does happen later on, and what causes that is because my body is offsetting forces. All right, and to continue on with that one, if I can push the left hip back, okay, and it's going to go straight back, and actually if anything go back at a slight angle away from the target as well. This actually creates, if my arm is relaxed enough, this creates my arm to straighten out through impact, all these positions that you want through the ball. But this is happening because I can feel that leg pushing backwards as I swing through. So if I do it from this angle, without taking the net off, if I do it from this angle, as I swing back down and through, I'm pushing that hip back. and I'm working in a straight line as well. My hip goes back in a straight line. I'm not turning. The word turn is really the wrong term to use. Even though they look like they're turning, I'm thinking of straight lines. So my right hip goes back, my left hip goes back. I'm never ever moving up to the ball or turning up into it. So I'm going back and pushing through. I'm pushing through. Okay, you can see that I'm pushing the hip and I'm pushing away as I swing through. And you can practice doing that. I often just do it on a tee peg and do it off the grass as well. But it's very cold over here at the UK at the moment, so anything to help me from stinging my fingers is a bonus. So what I'm going to do here is just practice hitting some soft shots. Now, you could start, if needs be, just doing first of all the one arm swings without any body motion at all and hit some shots that way. But then you could start to blend it in. Okay, and I'm pushing that hip back as I swing through. And I can just stand here and just get a feel for doing that, back and through. And I'm just pushing that hip back with my left leg. Okay, so my left leg, I'm using the ground, I'm pushing back and I'm pushing back the hip. So I'm pushing it away from the ball. I want it to be further away from the ball than what it started. Okay, so I'm just going to swing back and push it through. Okay, and you can see how it pushes me away. It's the same as if you was a hammer thrower in the Olympics. You know, when they swing round, they swing the heavy stick around, the heavy weight around, and as they swing through, their hips push away from that, and that's them controlling the momentum. And the faster I can push that away, the faster I can create momentum going around me. All right, so this is just a small way to train that, really. And this is really what's happening with ground forces and vertical forces. Is I'm pushing weight into the ground, but then my hip is then rebounding and pushing backwards. It's not turning, it's pushing away, and that's really what you want to try to train. So as I swing back, I'm pushing away. Okay, I can feel my hip has gone further away from the ball. I feel like I'm almost stepping back over here somewhere. There's two ways that you can do this wrong. Is you can either go too early with the hips and leave the club head behind you, which then dumps the club in a too much of an into-out position, and then you probably flip it to try and catch up from there. Or another one you see is people don't move the hips at all, and this again can cause the club head to rotate and flip at the ball. Okay, so we want to try and time it together that they're working through. This gets the body motion involved. Now I can put both hands on now and then just progress that up. Okay, I can then progress that up to just feeling as though I just swing back and swing through. Okay, I can feel that hip pushing back as I do so. All right, it really sort of times it up all nicely. Oh, I can't begin to tell you how cold it is out there. All right. So it really does time it up nicely, and I'm using momentum as a friend as opposed to an enemy to try to release the club as I hit through. Okay, so I'm timing the two up together, but I'm using my left leg to straighten my left hip socket back, which is really, really key. So I'm just going to go back and through. Okay, I can feel that pushing through. If you've been doing this motion, okay, the look cool drill as we call it, where you're standing there just sort of allowing the club head to swing through, which is fine. You need to allow that. You need to have that separation. It's a speed producer. Right? It's what produces almost 80% of the speed of the golf swing. All right, but then you've got to then encourage the hip to push back and through as well. And it's really important that you practice that bit as well, to push through. And this then moves the pivot action from being here to then in front of me more. Okay, so it'll be more here, and that's what creates speed and power. I'll get all the shaft lean I need through impact, and then I can then allow the club head to release through. So that's really the next stages that I want you to start to learn if you've been doing the look cool drill. All right, very, very important that you practice that. So I'm going to just try a little half swing from here. So just back and through. Love it. So this is one of the things that I'm going to be working on this year for myself, because I do have a tendency to stall the hip out and then push the hip into the ball, because I'm allowing momentum to take me almost. So as the club has come around here, I'm almost going with the club, which I don't want to do, because you would do, okay? I want to be going away from that, because I have a tendency in my swing, it's faults I've had since I was, I don't know, 17 years old, which is a long time ago now, but I have a tendency to move up into the ball, and that then stalls my hip, which then encourages me to then release my wrists, okay? So I'm going to work on that this year. A lot of it comes from hip flex. You know, I don't have much flexibility in my hips. I'm 50 nearly this year. I'll be 50 this year, so I don't have the flexibility of a 21-year-old anymore. But a bit of yoga and a bit of stretching, that will soon help that out. So just want to really work on that motion as I'm swinging down and through to hit the ball, and that's really what I'm working on. And that's the feeling that I'm working on as I'm hitting these shots. And push through. Okay, so that's what I want you to try and work on, if you can do that. So start off, just to summarize, start off just doing one arm swings, and then couple that up then with just pushing the left hip back and feel the momentum. You can feel the club head really take off as it comes through the ball. As soon as you push away, you can feel the club head accelerate on its own accord, and then you can take hold of the club and then start making practice swings that way, and try to rehearse exactly the same thing with a fuller swing. If you can get that right, then you'll start to hit the ball, hopefully a lot better, and you'll start to clear the hips out of the way and give yourself a lot more room through the impact area. So back and through. Okay, now I mean, somebody myself who's not flexible as he should be in his hamstrings and in his glutes and so on, I can still get my hips to turn through impact quite a bit just by thinking of them pushing backwards as opposed to turning. Okay, when you suddenly start thinking turning, you tend to turn around a pivot point, and that generally means your left hip will stall and then you'll throw the right hip out, but you'll be thinking that you're turning, but your pelvis is always continuously moving up to the ball. So think straight lines. We've done videos on that before, they're on my channel, so go back and I'll put a link down below in the description if you want to find it. Anyway, I hope that helps you. It's something to work on, but please spend a bit of time doing this one. Work it with me if you want to. Just practicing, just pushing that back. And if it's a series that you think might be quite handy, you know, my journey into not extending, then I can film it as I'm going along as well. But it's something that I'm working on, that I see in my own swing, that I think could benefit you guys as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Anyway, thanks for the support, and I'll catch you next week.